Yo, 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 what's crack-a-lackin', my students of storytelling? I'm Joe the Writer, welcoming you to Joe the Writer's Room. That's right, this is the only place on YouTube where you can learn how to write from a man with mutton chops. So let's get into it. Now in this day and age, with our high-speed internet access and 4G mobile networks, y'all probably think that dealing with massive amounts of information is easy. But when you're writing, it's a whole different story. Dealing with information can be the hardest thing in the world. You gotta worry about plots, subplots, characters, settings, and all the while, you gotta make sure what you're writing is interesting. That's why today, we're gonna be going over Joe the Writer's 3 laws of information. The first law of information is to be withholding. Don't give it up all at once like some cheap tramp. Make your audience beg you for each scrap of info you feed them. Now you might think that explaining every little thing will streamline your story and make it easier to read. But it won't. It's just gonna do the opposite. It's gonna make your story dull. Why? Because then there's nothing left for the audience to figure out, and there are no surprises. Your story is based on tension, and nothing builds tension like a lack of information. Dole out your knowledge on a need-to-know basis, and your audience is going to be on the edge of their seats trying to figure out the missing piece. If you want to check out an awesome example of this, check out the movie Memento. That thing is more withholding than an Eskimo virgin. Law of information number 2. Disguise yourself. Never make it blatantly obvious to your readers that they're learning something. If they wanted to learn, they'd be reading the textbook. Now this law basically means the same thing as that old saying, show don't tell, but if you ask me, I think it's better. Cause let's be real, you can tell information. It's done all the time. It's called dialogue. The trick is you gotta make sure that dialogue is being directed at another character, and it can't seem like it's just for the audience's benefit. Otherwise, your writing's gonna seem boring, which is bad, or amateur, which is worse. So make sure you disguise your information well. Because if you don't, they're going to be laughing at you, or they're going to be asleep. And you don't want neither one of those. If you want a good example of this second law, check out the first Mission Impossible movie. In the beginning of that movie, there's plenty of dialogue that the audience discards as a throwaway joke, but it ends up being integral to the plot. Which brings us to the third law of information. Never tell them something they already know. Why? 'Cause it's straight up unnecessary, son! If your audience already knows something, don't repeat it over and over again. It's patronizing, it's condescending, and worst of all, it's inefficient storytelling. What kind of movie would you see this in? A guy's at work and he gets fired. He goes home and tells his wife that he just got fired. You only see that in a bad movie. In good movies, they skip one scene or the other. Why? Because repeating information is sloppy storytelling. A good example of this would be the movie Speed, in which pieces of information are relayed from Dennis Hopper to Keanu Reeves to Jeff Daniels to Joe Morton to Sandra Bullock and the rest of the entire LAPD. And yet the audience only hears it once or twice. Because if you heard it all those other times, you'd be bored out of your mind. Well, that does it for Joe the Writer's 3 laws of information. Follow the path and you could be the next Stephen King. Stray from it and you'll never get published. That's it for this week. Make sure to thumbs up and subscribe. I'm Joe the Writer telling you to keep on writing. Peace! Bum 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 bum. Ba-doo.